Let's read Romans chapter 4, verse 13. We just got to talking about Abraham. We pick back up. Clearly, God's promise to give the whole earth to Abraham and his descendants was based not on his obedience to God's law. You hear that? God's promise wasn't based on Abraham obeying the law because the law hadn't been given yet. So it's clearly understanding that God wasn't talking about the law because the law hadn't been given yet. But on a what? Right relationship with God that comes by faith. You all, I just gave you the whole message right there. Your relationship with God determines how much faith you're going to operate in. Your relationship with God is everything. My relationship with God supersedes the law, baby. I'm not worried about the law. I'm not worried about if I'm driving down the street, if I'm going 45, 50. I can obey that law. That law ain't nothing to me. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not kill. That's nothing to me. I have superseded that law. How did you do it, Pastor? My relationship with God. My faith is activated because of my relationship. You see what the law did? The law did not come to make you right with God. The law came to show you how far you were away from God. So now since the law showed me how far I was away from God, you know what God did? He gave me his righteousness, and now his righteousness has given me the relationship to be. That's why the Bible says we are seated with him. Because the law don't matter. We're seated with Christ. We're right next to him. We are hooked up. We are joined together with him. There's no more distance. He did away with the law. The law I'm not even trying to keep. I have surpassed that law. The law only pointed how far I was away. I'm no longer away. So I don't need the law. Now don't go out there sinning because you don't have the law. Let me read something to you. Hold on. I can hear that thought pattern. Ooh, sookie. I can go now and do what I want to do. No, you cannot. Don't get it twisted. Most people read this passage and they say, you know what? And they stop reading right there and they say, you know what? I don't have to worry about the law. I can do whatever I want to do now because the law is no effect. And that's a deception of the enemy. And if you don't watch it, you will get into a spirit of error, not knowing the truth. Let me go back just 1 minute and establish this before I go farther with this so that you'll know it. So Romans chapter 3, verse 31. Well then, if we emphasize faith, does this mean that we can forget about the law? Because I've got faith in God, I don't have to worry about the law. Listen to this. Of course not. In fact, only when we have faith do we truly fulfill the law. So all you who saying that now that the law don't matter to me, I can do what I want to do, God said, no, by faith or a right relationship with God, you have now fulfilled the law. The law wasn't just thrown away, it was fulfilled. And the only thing fulfilled the law was your right relationship with God. Now it put pressure on you to figure out if your relationship with God is right. Many of you right now will be just like Abraham. Abraham stood out. God gave him, the Bible said it was imputed or it was counted or was added to Abraham as righteousness because he believed God. He didn't just automatically believe God. He had to go step by step. He watched his daddy, I believe. And then at some point when God called him, so your relationship with God starts at the point when God called you. Well, God ain't never called me. I've been sitting by the phone. I got my cell phone on all the time. God does not necessarily call you by a cell phone. He does not have to hit you up on your pager or Twitter or whatever account that you have open. The account that God hit you up on is your heart. When he starts dealing with your heart, that's your tweet. You hear me? And you need to follow him. Mm-hmm. So, when you start to follow him, you know what that does? It begins to develop your faith. Abraham started to follow God, and when he saw circumstances and situations that come into his life, he saw Egypt. He knew that his woman looked real good, and he told her, tell them folks that you my sister, because If you tell